Welcome to Channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online B2 visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, be the first one of getting all the insight. Now, recently there hasn't been any updates or any policy changes or upgrade or implementation of any regulation, but I would like to add some comment on myself. Obviously, since the migration review report and also the budget 2023-24 has been announced by the current Australian government, the Labor government, there has been a lot of criticism on the mainstream media. So haven't you seen those topics talking about rental crisis and again migration? The topic of migration has been boosted up to the topic again. Now, that basically shows that migration is a very, very important key component of the nation of Australia, although they are putting out that as a topic in debate. But there's only important thing will be debated between different parties and on the headline. So obviously it's important enough to actually impact the whole nation. Now, but by the fact we have, if we're looking into historical data, well, Australia has been historically an immigration nation anyway. So why has this topic, a negative topic, talking about migration again? I will have my comment and digest from all kind of information here, so I wanted to share with you, and at the end of this video I'll also provide some of my, well, not insight but my thoughts about migration of Australia in the future. So you may have come across similar media topics, so there are probably hundreds out there. I don't want to copy and paste all of them to let you know. So obviously the opposition party, the Liberal Party, which is the former governing the former government of Australia, is talking about unplanned migration and slaying the problem with migration causing all the rental crisis. I have a question back there now. The Liberal Party has been governing Australia for the last 9 or 10 years. What have you guys done? What about infrastructure? Remember one of the video that I have done previously? What infrastructure have you guys done for the region of Australia? How to ease the transportation and commutal regions in Australia? Anyway, I'll leave that to all the viewers to make your comment. Now, there has been some critics, but there's also some good report that I have also seen, which really tackles the problem of housing crisis, not blaming on the migrants. Look, during the COVID, there has been tens of thousands of migrants move out of left Australia. Now they're only coming back. That's why you see the surge. So the total number of population of people living in Australia has not really changed much. But why is there a housing crisis there? It's not the migrants' issue, isn't it? Now let's have a look. Now this reporter named Alan Akola, I think he has done a very, very good depth information at reporting this, but not many people actually looking at it. That's why I want to talk about what he has actually found. So it's a long. He actually done a video report. You may want to search on YouTube, but the basic information and the question here is that there has been. Now, this sentence, this paragraph is very important. It actually reads, right now, there are 53,000 places available for long-term rent in the whole Australia. Now, that's a lot, but that's obviously not enough. versus about 300,000 short-term holiday properties. Now, what are these properties? Airbnb. So since the open of the border, Australia has become a very popular destination for holiday. So people come in here for holiday, they only want to take short term rather than go into, traditional hotel accommodation. Despite that, hotel accommodation is hard to get to. The short term rental on property, 300,000. Can you imagine how many homes around Australia has been opened up for Airbnb? Now, those ones are not available for long-term rental. No wonder housing crisis has actually caused the issue by this. Now, obviously, it's another thing I also wanted to mention, not just for the shortage on the houses, but during the COVID, nationwide in Australia, what were they doing? Let's have a look at this. Now, QBCC stands for Queensland Builders Construction Council, I believe. They have cancelled more than 100 builders in crackdowns, and they were technically the industry body together with the government were cracking down on the building industry. When? That's during the COVID. Now, why would they do that for? And look at this. There's QBCC crackdown thousands of builders, and this report was back in 2021, and there were already hundreds being cancelled. Now imagine how many had been cancelled nationwide. Now, what does this tell us? It's like on the weekend, very busy restaurants. Obviously, you can imagine full seated. Everybody's waiting for their steak meal, and the kitchen obviously is very, very busy with cooks and chefs, doing preparing for all the dining, foods and stuff. And suddenly during that time, somebody walks in and say they would like to do a crackdown and check on all the qualification and skills of all the cooks and chefs. Now, then what happened? The consumer, the patrons sitting in the restaurant waiting for hours for their meals and not to be delivered, and that's what's been happening right now. You see, so. Talking about housing crisis, I think this is the major issue there, rather than and there's a combination of this problem. That's why I wanted to show everybody what information I have actually received thus far. So the solution to this, obviously, there has been some good reporting on the whole building was evicted. The impact was short-term let. That's what we just talked about, the Airbnb short-term holiday homes for tourists has taken up. Obviously, that must be a very lucrative and making a lot of money. That's why a lot of people are putting their home out for short-term rather than for long-term rental. Obviously, then that causes a problem. Then the opposition government, the opposition party comes in and say, look, you're causing a problem because migrants. Is it really the migrant? But we will talk about why they are doing this. So there's already a lot of information and in the media news is talking about this. So again, rental crisis, Airbnb being a holiday home owners they have been urged by the government to let out the property for long-term rental. I think that will be the right thing to do. Now, obviously, you may question then why has the opposition party, putting out in the mainstream media, putting out the headline and criticizing migrants causing the housing crisis. Now, reasons here. It's all politics. Looking at this map, I think that was last month. So New South Wales has lost their vote against the Labor. So Labor Party has currently governed all the mainland of Australia, and only Tasmania left. And there are more problems coming into the Liberal Party. So this is all if you know about the politics in Australia, you may notice. And they are recently, in the past few months, a lot of Liberal MPs, ministers are quitting resigning. And not just that, also problem causing in Tasmania. So reading this, Tasmania Liberal government throwing into minority. So what would that do? What would that do when a member of parliament quits? Then they are thrown into a by-election. The by-elections basically means that that seat is required to be re-elected. And obviously, what had been happened in the previous re-elections, Liberal has been all losing their seats, and they've been losing badly. Look, I'm not a political reporter, but that has been the fact in the past, I would say 12 months since May 2022, Liberal lost the federal elections. Every election they had been losing. So what happened? So the Liberal Party has been obviously in panic mode. So when they were in panic mode, they like to throw scare campaign into the mainstream media, and obviously the one group of people they can be complain against, which will not affect their vote, obviously will be the migrants, because most of them won't have any vote. But I do not think the Australian population, and the general population of Australia, will still be that stupid enough to actually, accept those kind of scare campaign. Because you may know, if you're a migrant and living in Australia now, you may have, local friends, one or two. And the effect of these migrants actually huge, and that is why the tide had turned last year in May 2022. Labor actually be elected. So that's the issue there. It's all political. Politicians wanted to balance their popularity by throwing something that they believe won't really affect their party status. But again, I don't think, first of all, let's swing back to migration. Now, first of all, migrants are not the issue causing of the housing crisis. So the housing crisis is actually caused by post-pandemic, post-COVID, where Australia has been, a choice of a major popular tourist destination. So there are currently 300,000 homes has been let out. They're out there advertising as a short-term holiday home and not for long-term rental, and that causing the issue. Secondly, the government of Australia nationwide, I believe, had been cracking down on the building industry and the construction industry. So it's exactly what I just mentioned as my example. It's like a very busy weekend restaurant, fully seated, and the cooks and chefs are so busy, and suddenly somebody just walks in and say, I need to check up all the cooks and chefs' skills, and I need to do some qualification confirmations. Obviously, that will cause a lot of issue as well. And finally, the third point is all of this is all about, it's all political. So it's not really the migrants issue. It's more about the Liberal Party has actually been losing a lot of their popularity, and that's why they're throwing this topic into the media. So what's the future for Migration Australia? I still have a very, very positive belief that the new changes from the Migration Review report will bring in a positive result for the opening up of all the migration in Australia. Especially the number has been increased. So if you really like to migrate to Australia, by any means, more than welcome to subscribe to my channel and share with your mates. Thank you for watching, and if you have more question and query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below. I'll see you next video. Goodbye.